Good evening, West Coast, Berbice, New Amsterdam, and of course, right here on the Quarantine Coast. Welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News where I discuss, or we discuss together, rather, the important issues that would have taken place in our country over the last few weeks or so. Over the last few days, rather. As I said, and as I normally say, we live in a very dynamic society. We live in a very dynamic country where things are changing every day and where new developments are taking place, both positive and negative, and therefore there are a lot of issues to be discussed at any given period of time in our country. The big thing that has happened this week is, of course, the presentation by the Minister of Finance of the national budget of 2017. As you know, this new government has changed the timing for the presentation of the budget. Normally, budget is presented by the first quarter of the new year. This government has decided that they will present the budget in December, or rather November, of the previous year. But whenever the budget is presented is not really of importance. Is what is in the budget that is important. And it is important also that we situate the budget in the economy in which the budget is presented. We in Guyana have experienced a tremendous downslide in the economy over the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years, we have had no increase in the productive sectors, no increase in production in the productive sectors. In fact, we have had a decline in production in almost every area of production other than gold. And the gold statistics is really misleading because the increase in production in the gold sector is coming only from 2 new large Canadian companies that have opened gold mines in our interior. And these are 2 new investments that came into being while we were in government. Other than that, if you take those 2 gold mine production out of the equation, you will see that there is a net decline in the mining sector, the gold mining sector. So in the gold mining sector, though you have increased in production, when you look at it from a macro level, when you look at it across the board, you have really a decline in production from the small and medium scale miners. Of course, we know where sugar is. Sugar is in tremendous difficulties, and this government, and I will speak about that later, is on its way to essentially close the sugar industry. There is no increase in production in rice. In fact, rice has declined. Nearly a third of the acreage that was planted the last 2 crops have now not been planted. So what you have under cultivation now is about 2/3 of the acreage that was under cultivation over the last 2 rice crops. So there is a decline in rice. In the commercial sector, as I've been saying, and as you know, business is terrible. Business is bad. Every single businessman, every single business entity is complaining. Last week or the week before, Citizen Bank closed its operations in Essequibo. Normally, when banks flourish or banks open new branches, it is an indication that there is money circulating in that part of the country. And while we were in government, banks opened branches right across the country where branches did not exist. Now we are witnessing a closing down of these branches. So Citizen Bank has already closed its operations in Essequibo. We have had no new investment at all over the last 2 years. No new sector has developed, no new investment of any sort, whether small or large, has entered the economy or the economic equation in this country. We have had the US dollar sliding all the time, well rather the Guyana dollar sliding in its value against the US dollar all the time. The Minister of Finance in his budget continues to use a rate of exchange that is completely inaccurate. He says that the US dollar is changing at 205.5. That means 205 Guyana dollars and 50 cents for $1 US. That is not so. The US dollar, if any one of you go out there and try to buy US dollar, you will realize that the US dollar is changing at over 210. Over 210 to 212 in some places. So the 205 figure that the Minister of Finance is using is completely inaccurate. So you have a stagnant economy with no new investment. And you have a society that is plagued with banditry and violent crimes that has also a stultifying effect on economic activities in the country. And then you have the approach of the government which says that, look, we are not getting involved in industries that have a problem. So in the rice industry they said, look, we are not planting rice. Rice is not a government business. In sugar, the same approach they have taken. And they have been closing estates rather than working with the estates to make them economically feasible. So there is a shutdown of Wales estate. No new job has been created as a result of the combination of the factors to which I am referring. No new job at all in this country. In fact, what we have had is massive dismissal from the public sector, from governmental organizations, on the ground of race, on the ground of ethnicity, and on the ground of politics. So they knock off people and not a single new job has been created. Then as a result of the declining of production in the various sectors, these sectors have been forced to send people off, send home people. So Barama has sent home over 450 employees as it has drastically reduced its operations. And there's only one company. And if you go across the private sector, they will tell you that their business is declining every day. And as a result, they are forced every day to shed employees. So there is no new jobs being created, but neither is employment being maintained at a particular equilibrium. Employment is, there is movement in employment, but it is the movement towards dismissal of employees. I am a lawyer in private practice, as you know, and I have many clients in the commercial sector, and every day they complain to me that they have to send home staff because of the state of the economy and because of a decline in business in their particular area of activity. And then you have at the level of the government hundreds of millions of dollars being wasted in corrupt transactions and corrupt projects. we have hardly recovered from the Durban Park fiasco, where a private company has collected hundreds of millions of dollars of donation and nobody can account for it. And government monies have been used and there is no accountability whatsoever. Hundreds of millions of dollars that could have been spent towards strengthening the economy, towards creating a stimulus package that would have kickstart our economy in the manner that it is required. And then of course we have projects like the drug bond, where we are paying $14 million a month to rent a house in Albistown, Georgetown, to store drugs, and not a single item of drugs have been stored in that building. The operator has some photographs of that building, which I will ask him to show on the screen. Operator, could you bring up the photograph of that bond? Now this is the facility. This is a house in a street called Sussex Street, Albistown, or Sussex Street, Charlestown, that the government is paying $14 million for, and you will see that it is locked down. Only the other day, that bridge that you see there has been repaired. You see a whole set of dogs standing at the side there. That bridge was recently done over. The bridge that was there before fell down. That is the building that we are paying $14 million a month, $12.5 million plus VAT, to rent that building to store bond, to store drugs, and not a single tablet can be found in that building. And we have already paid, we have rented that building, I believe, in May of 2016. May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 7 months, and we are going into December. 7 months at $14 million per month. 7 months at $14 million per month. That's nearly about $90 million have been poured into a bottomless pit. Just poured into a bottomless pit. And that is what is going on in the country. So against that background, a particular type of budget was required. A budget that would have offered social and financial package to the ordinary people. A budget that would have given incentives to investors. A budget that would have had in it a stimulus package to kickstart the economic sector or the private sector. A budget that would have had a menu of measures that would have attracted investment to the country, because none of these things exist currently. And that is the kind of budget that one would have expected in this gloomy economic backdrop which I have painted and which currently exists. You need a budget that would have been kind to the people, a budget that would have been helpful to the ordinary working people, a budget that would have been helpful to the private sector, that would have kick-start economic activity, that would have breathed life into the private sector and give it momentum, a budget that would have attracted investments and new projects, a budget that would have created opportunities for job creation, a budget that would have had a package that would have helped the ailing productive sectors. The productive sectors that are having problems, one would have expected that the budget would have contained a menu of measures that would have nursed them along back to good health. So you'd have had a package to assist the rice farmers. You'd have had a package to assist the sugar industry. You'd have had a package to assist the forestry industry, because all these productive areas are declining. Well, we had a budget of a completely different type. We have a budget that the opposition leader, Comrade Bharat Jagdev, has described as the worst budget in our history. And I share that view even before he said that. Even before he said that, this is what he says: the worst budget ever. Even before he said that, that was my view when the budget was being read. First of all, the budget, again, let us begin, before we deal with the budgetary measures, let us see what the budget says. The budget tells us that economic growth rate has declined, and the real growth rate now is 2%. So the budget accurately records the level of economic activity in the country and the growth rate. When we were in government, we were growing at 4 and 4.5% per annum. That was the growth rate. 4% or 4.5% per annum. For 10 consecutive or 12 consecutive years, we grew at that average. We are now at 2%. 2%. And the budget says that the economy is performing dismally. Dismally. And one would have expected that, having recognized that the economy is performing dismally, that you would have had a budget that would have activated the economy, that would have invigorated the economy, that would have given life to the economy, that would have energized the economy. This budget does the opposite. It does the opposite. It drives nails into the economy. It drives nails into the coffin of the economy. It's like if you have a sick man, the economy right now is like a sick patient. And rather than the doctor give the patient drips or drugs to bring the patient back to vitality and health, good health, the doctor gives the patient a set of medicine that will ensure that the patient is crippled more, is debilitated more, gets weaker. And that is the kind of budget that this is. Because the finance minister says to us that the economy is weak, the economy is an ailing man. And one would have expected that the finance minister would have energized that patient to bring it back to vitality and bring him or her back to good health. Well, he has given some serious opposite of that. Some medicine that will have crippling effect on the patient. For example, and many of these things are coated, they are sugar coated, but inside lies the real measure. So, and you will see, I am told that the government propaganda machine led by Nagamutu is spinning out fancy booklets and pamphlets for the sugar coating what the budget has in it. Well, the people of Guyana will soon feel it. They are reading it. And no amount of sugar coating can hide the poison that is in these measures. So they tell us that they are reducing VAT. They are reducing VAT from 16% to 14%. That's a sugar coating that they give. And guess what? Three things that takes away that 14% and put each citizen in a worse position. That, in other words, it's better you didn't reduce the 14%, because now you are taxing the citizen more, because they have added VAT now to water. They have added VAT to electricity. And they have removed the zero items. We had a list of nearly 100 items that did not attract duty, did not attract VAT. Let me repeat. We had 100 items that did not attract VAT. They have abolished that list. So all food products now carry VAT. Rice now carry VAT. Baby milk now carry VAT. All baby milk and feeding products, they were all VAT free. They all now carry VAT. All school children items, educational materials, they were all VAT free. They now have VAT. All computer and computer related items, they were all VAT free. They now carry VAT. All medicine and drugs, they were VAT free. They now carry VAT. And every single person who consumes electricity in this country and consumes water will have to pay VAT. Another sugar coating is that if your light bill is $10,000 and below, you don't have to pay VAT. The truth is that nobody's light bill is $10,000. So they are fooling you. That is the sugar coating that I'm talking about. So they reduced VAT by 2%, but they have increased your VAT bill by 200%. Though VAT is reduced from 16 to 14, the total VAT that every Guyanese has to pay is about 200%, because items that were never VATable are now VATable. Take, for example, this television station. The light bill here is $230,000 per month. The light bill at this television station is $230,000 a month. When you add 14% VAT to that, the light bill at this station is increased by $32,000. Let me go slowly. The light bill at this television station is $230,000 per month. When you add 14% VAT, it increases that light bill to 230, but it increases the light bill by $32,000, taking the total light bill from 230 to 262, from 230,000 to 262,000. So this station alone will have to pay $32,000 more just for electricity. And water, the same. So how will they recover that money? They now have to increase the cost of their debt announcement to you, the ordinary people. Every single restaurant in this country will now have to raise their food prices, because every restaurant, the major cost is light bill, and another major cost is water. No matter what business you're doing, no matter what food place you have, the two major items that you are using is water and electricity. And when those two things go up, then what you sell logically, naturally will have to go up. So food across the country will be increased. And now that is only for VAT. As I said to you, medicine, drugs, all now carry VAT. Food, baby food, all carry VAT. School items, they all carry VAT. Computer parts and computers, they all carry VAT. That is only on VAT. Then you have, I have the newspapers here, there is so much that I can say. They have raised your income tax now. As I said, they give you a little quoting. Your income tax used to be 33 and a third percent. There's a threshold first of all. So they increase the threshold a little by $5,000. And then above that, you used to pay 33 and a third percent on the balance of your salary. Now they have dropped the 32.5% to 30% up to $100,000, and then from $100,000 above they have raised it to 40%. You understand what I'm saying? Let me go slowly. There is a threshold in relation to which you don't pay any income tax. Let us say that is $55,000. From $55,000 above, you used to pay 33 and a third percent. They have reduced that to 30%. But when you reach $100,000, they jump up to 40% for the remainder of your salary. So that is another shaft to the worker. And as I said, you will get literature that will come to you from the government. You will hear the propaganda, but they will not tell you these things. Then, in relation to the collection of taxes now, the Minister of Finance says that they will bring a new set of laws that will empower the GRA to come for these taxes when they are not paid. Right now, they have laws which they have passed last year that allows them to go into your bank account without consulting you. So you could be at home sleeping, you could be working, you could be on a holiday, and they are in your bank account, seeing how much money you have. So they have that power. They give themselves that power last year. This year, they now are giving the GRA more powers. When you owe tax and you don't pay your tax, they don't have to even talk back to you no more. On the new measures that are in this budget, they will go into your bank account, take your money and give it to GRA. Let me go that back slowly. They are passing a law that will authorize the GRA, if you do not pay your taxes, to go into your bank account and take your money in lieu of taxes, so that they can go and pay themselves. So that they don't have to bother with you. They don't have to write you letters anymore and say, you owe us X amount of taxes. No, they don't want to do that anymore. They will go into your bank account and take out your money and pay your tax. Then there is a greater power that they are giving to GRA. If you don't pay your taxes and you owe GRA money, they can sell your house. Now, they don't have to go to court They don't have to go to court to do this, you know. To go into your bank account, they don't have to go to court. To put up your house for sale, they don't have to go to court. They will just sell your property when you owe tax and take the money. We are moving into a state of madness in this country. So, let me highlight those things. Then, the budget has increased a whole host of fees and fines. You have $6,000 now you have to pay for a passport. $6,000 for a passport. You have to pay an additional tax to travel overseas. $2,500 more they have increased your travel tax by. So your ticket price will now go up by $2,500. Then a whole set of other fines, as I said, have increased and new fees are charged. If you are late with your income tax submissions, and all of us are late with our income tax submissions, all of us. If you are late with your income tax submissions, you have to pay a late fee of $50,000. $50,000. Remember, you can barely pay your taxes. Now you have to pay a late fee of $50,000. Then, if you want to transfer the registration of a motorcycle, the current fee is $2,000. They have raised that from $2,000 to $25,000, or 2% of the value of the motorcycle if you're selling it, whichever one is higher. You're not understanding what I'm saying, or I'm going too fast? Because there's so much that I have to say. So from $2,000, the transfer fees for a motorcycle has raised to $25,000. And there is a whole host of other taxes coming. Environmental tax. Every time you buy a glass bottle or container, you have to pay $10 environmental tax on that. So every sweet drink, every soda, every beverage of every type that is contained in a bottle, a glass bottle or a plastic bottle, whether manufactured in Guyana or is imported into Guyana, you have to pay 10% tax. $10, tax on that bottle. Then corporation tax. Well, this is complicated, and I have not had enough time to study it. Remember, this budget was only passed yesterday, and we have been working since. I work every day, so I have not had time to read the budget. But corporation tax is 30%. It has now gone to 40%. 40%. And then there's another new tax on contractors. So contractors who are listening to this program, there's a new tax specially for you. When you get a contract, you have to lodge with the government 2% of the value of that contract. You have to lodge 2% of the value of that contract in advance. And you're not getting it back. That goes towards payment of your taxes. It goes, so even before you start the work, you have to pay 2% tax on the value of the work. Even before you throw the first truckload sand, or you mobilize the first equipment, you already have to pay 2% tax. Don't think that I feel that these things are funny. It's just that I cannot imagine that a government would handle a budget like this. My brain is different. It can't process these things because my brain operates, I believe, or I want to believe, in a logical way. You know, you prepare your brain prepares you. So when you walk into a parliament and you hear there is a budget that's going to be presented, and you know the state of the economy, you expect a budget. Logically, your brain tells you that a budget will come of a particular nature, that will meet the needs of the peculiarities of the environment in which the budget is going to be presented. Well, this here shocks the brain. This puts the brain into a state of shock because you can't, you know, if you go into a fridge, your brain, and you pick up a bottle to throw some cold water, your brain prepares your mouth, your tasting cells to receive cold water. You know, if that water comes there and goes to your tongue and it's hot, it can put you in a state of shock because your brain has sent a particular signal to your mouth and to your taste buds to expect something cold. Well, that's what's going on here. My brain can't imagine that in an economy that is in the state that the Guyana economy is in, a Minister of Finance who is an economist will present the budget of this time. Anyhow, let's go on. Used tires, remember they had announced this before, and due to public pressure, they were forced to backpedal. Well, used tires are now officially going to be banned from the 1st of April. So all the businesses that are trading and dealing with old and used tires, that's it. You're finished. You're out of business. You can only sell new tires. And the minister specifically said, even the spare has to be new. So no old tires, no used tires whatsoever. And then you have another list of fines that they have increased. It's in the back of the budget. It's a long list. I can't imagine. I can't remember them now. But I'll tell you a few. Apparently, a donkey cart is supposed to have a sign stating who is the owner of the donkey and what is the address of this donkey and this donkey cart. Well, that obviously is not being observed, that law. So this minister is now imposing a fine of $10,000 on every donkey or animal-drawn cart that doesn't have a sign saying who cart it is. So all the donkey cart and horse cart people, please put at the back some sign that says who is the owner. If you slaughter an animal, and this thing they say what kind of animal. So if you slaughter an animal without informing some public health inspector or somebody like that, you have to pay a fine of $10,000. So I don't know if you kill a chicken, you have to pay $10,000 fine, which is like 3 chicken value for killing the chicken without informing the public health people. I believe that the measure is designed for the slaughtering of cattle. I believe that is what the minister intends or intended, but it doesn't say so. It says animals, at least that's my recollection. So any animal that you kill, if you don't report it, you gotta pay $10,000. And then some animals, as you know, you have to get permission to kill them. Well, I know that applies to cows, bulls. You have to get permission to kill. The fees gone up for that as well. I am looking here at the Stabrook News to see what else I can garner from it quickly. Because there is so much in terms of measures and in terms of, and you know what, they increase old age pension by $800. $800. They increase old age pension. What that can do? You raise people like Bill by thousands of dollars. You raise their water rates by thousands of dollars, and you give them $800 increase. Oh. Liquor license, the tax gone up by a couple 100%. And let me see what else. Oh, Gaisuku, the Minister of Finance, said very clearly that putting money into Gaisuku, and I want the sugar workers to listen to me, Nagamutu and Ramjatan were sitting right there. And the Minister of Finance says to this nation that putting money into Gaisuku is wasting money. Could you imagine that? Putting money into Gaisuku is wasting money. And that they are setting up a 3-person ministerial committee that will deal with the future of Gaisuku. Recall that they put a new board in already. Recall that they had a commission of inquiry already. The commission of inquiry did not tell them to close estates. In fact, the commission of inquiry told them not to close estates. They disregarded that. Now they have a committee, a 3-man ministerial committee that will sit down and determine the future of Gaisuku. I want to bet you that that committee will recommend the closure of more estates because they were disappointed by the Commission of Inquiry's report. That Commission of Inquiry was not supposed to produce a report that says no closure of estates, but it did, and that disappointed them. So they are going to now put on this committee 3 ministers, one of whom will be Moses Danimoto, who will say close the sugar industry or close estates. I believe that I have given you an accurate overview of the budget. I believe that I have outlined to you that the philosophy of this government is fund this country, finance this country by taxing. This government believes that the people of this country must pay to run this country. They are essentially the managers of the company. Look, it's like a company. And this company doesn't want the managers of the company. They're brain dead, they're lazy, or they have no initiative, or they're mentally inept to come up with ideas how to increase profitability of this company. They can't do that. They are incompetent, so they can't come up with ideas how to get this company to make profits. So what they are doing, they are taking from the workers of the company to run the company. So if they pay the worker $5, they're taking back $4 from the worker to run the company. And that is what is happening in this country. Because the president seems to be something wrong mentally. The ministers have no vision. They are mentally and physically incompetent and inept. They can't attract new investment. They can't catalyze the economy into movement, positive movement. They can't attract new investments. They can't get new sectors going. They can't inspire people to spend money on their own. They can't do any of those things, or they are lazy to do those things. So they take the easy way out. They just tax you, the people, and take your money. They pay themselves and they run the country. And you, the people, becomes poorer and poorer every single day. Because prices are increasing, cost of living are increasing, is increasing all the time, but your income is not commensurately increasing. So every day you become poorer, because monies that you could have saved, or monies that you had disposable power over, you no longer have it. So I want to know which section of the population this budget helps out. Which section? It has nothing for the ordinary people. It has nothing for the young people. It has nothing for the elderly. It has nothing for the farmer. It has nothing for the public servant. It has nothing for the... I don't know who it has anything for. And I'm asking supporters of this government, and I know thousands of them are watching me from West Coast, Berbice, New Amsterdam, and right here on the quarantine. Well, I don't know how many of them really still support the government. But this is about bread and butter. This is not about politics anymore. Your political leaders have failed you. There's no other way I can put it. They have failed you. They are pauperizing you. And I'm speaking in particular, to those who have voted for this government. They are pauperizing you with this measure. The PPP never put VAT on water and on electricity. We have hundreds of millions of dollars lying in an account at GPL. Hundreds of millions of dollars because of the drop in fuel prices. And rather than the consumer enjoying that benefit, the consumer now is penalized with VAT on electricity, We have the highest light bill in the world. The highest light bill in the world. In this part of the world. And now you're going to add VAT to it. So this is where I will open the telephone lines and begin a discussion with you, the people out there, and let me hear your views on what you think about the budget. Because as I normally say, you are the persons who are most affected by the budget. The ministers, they don't pay light bill. They don't pay a phone bill. Half of the things that they get don't attract taxes. They don't pay duties. Alright? Everything they get is duty free. So they don't understand what you are going through every single day. And they don't come to the community either. They don't come to your village. And I keep asking, when was the last time a minister visited a village in Berbice, either West Coast Berbice or Quarantine, and compare that to when the PPP was in government? Compare the frequency of visits by PPP ministers when the PPP was in government with how many times a minister of this government has visited a community. And I'm going to bet you my last dollar that 99% of the villages, both on the Quarantine, East Berbice and West Coast Berbice, 99% of the villages have not been visited by a minister of this government from 2015 May to now. Caller, you're here. Oh, I don't know if something is wrong with the phone. Operator, is something wrong with the phone? Operator, is something wrong with the phone? I'm not getting dial tone. Check it for me. Okay, so yes, there's apparently something wrong with the phone. So, we have rice. Rice production is sliding continuously, and the minister projects that rice production is going to get worse. It's going to decrease further this year. Every year when we were in government, rice production increased. Under this government, 2 years and two years and two sets of predictions that the rice production is decreasing. I'm reading an article here which says that someone described the budget as a debt announcement budget. A debt announcement budget. Somebody described the budget as a debt announcement budget. I think that that's quite accurate. A debt announcement budget. And I'm looking here. I'm looking here where they are going to begin constitutional reforms. That's a big thing now. That's a divert away from the economic problems that we are facing. So we are going to have constitutional reforms. Okay, the phone seems to be back. Could you put the right number on the screen? Yes, they are saying that we are going to have constitutional reforms over the next 2 years. So that is to divert away from the economic problems. Of course, they said that they want countrywide consultations on this constitutional reforms. So they will create a slush fund and they will travel right across the country to sport and enjoy themselves under the pretext that they are discussing constitutional reform. And there is hardly any interest in constitutional reform when people can barely get to eat. Now, the telephone number is on your screen, 337-1823. We have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Oh, good night.
Good night. Could you speak up a little, please?
I like the program and I enjoy it. It's very interesting.
Where are you calling me from?
Quarantine.
What do you have to say about the budget?
Something is pressurizing this.
Oh, I lost that caller. Sorry. Yes. We have another caller coming in. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, good night, Mr. Nandela.
Good night.
I think you make a mistake, you know. With the budget we say it's nothing include for the ordinary people. It include, but it include for the government. The government workers, them only. Like the president, the ministers, them. That's the only person the budget include for.
Well, I said the ordinary man. They are not ordinary. Moses Nagamotu and Kemran Ramjatan and David Grange are not ordinary people. Those are the Maharajas of this land.
Yeah, because
You understand?
they reaping everything and
They don't have to pay tax, they don't have to pay light bill and so on. So that is why Nagamotu can sit down and create glossy advertisement to sugarcoat the budget so that he hides the poison, you know,
Yeah.
and he laces it with chocolate and makes it look attractive to the unsuspecting public.
Yeah, well, we're going back to the days we went before because we start getting blackouts and so on. So we start moving back to the days.
Okay, caller, where you calling me from?
Quarantine.
No man, I know quarantine. Quarantine is a, where?
52 village.
52 village, thank you. And another important thing, this government will start to sell bonds on the local market in order to raise financing. I'm going to talk about that a little later. Caller, you're in the air.
Good night, Daniel.
Good night.
I'm calling from 55 on the quarantine.
Good.
I have listened. I am over 20 years old.
Yes.
Father and me are good friends.
My father?
Yes, your father.
Okay.
Work together in agriculture.
Oh, all right.
I have listened to so many budgets. But you know something, if I put it simply, I don't know when I'm going to involve myself, but this is a budget for riot. This is a budget for riot. In any country of this world where you see people will be pressured,
Yeah.
like this budget, good sensible people, this will be a budget for riot.
A lot of people express that sentiment to me, you know, surprisingly. That you know, people call me and ask me, you know, can we go to court? If we can't go to court, what can we do about this budget?
I am above age now. I was surprised that only $8 they give to pensioners.
800.
And then a country where it is known as land of many waters, we are going to pay taxes on water.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. A government where doesn't seem to understand electricity can move this country. They are going to give power by solar energy. I cannot understand. I cannot.
All right, caller. Thank you very much. Let me give somebody else a chance. Thank you. So that caller is very frustrated, and he says that this is a riotous budget, can present the occasion for riots. Caller, you're on the air.
Good night, Mr. Nandela.
Good night.
I'm from West Coast about you.
West Coast, which village?
And your Nana will get in the parliament. So them doing already see.
Well, I didn't hear you.
I said, Nana will get in the parliament. So them doing already see.
Well, what I'm telling you, that this budget shows a lack of mental aptitude and an unwillingness to work mentally to come up with plans that will bring income to this country. So, as a substitute, just tax you. Alright?
Okay, Mr. Nanalar, good night. Thank you.
So the caller is saying maybe it's because you're old. Maybe. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, good night, Mr. Nanalar.
Where are you calling me from?
Albion.
Albion.
I would like to raise one issue. This 14% what we get now, they reduced from 16 to 14%. The baby item that is be zero rated VAT, you still got to pay 14% on baby items?
You now have to pay 14%.
On baby items?
Yeah, it used to be zero item. What the minister said, that he's scrapping the zero item list and that he will increase, he called it a list called VAT exempt list.
Okay.
And that he will put items on that list. But when we check that list, in the budget itself, there is what is called an appendix. Alright? A schedule at the back. And when you look at the schedule, it doesn't have baby things and so. So it appears as though he is now imposing VAT on all the items that were once zero rated.
And now the water bill, not the water bill, the light bill, we get in solar energy now, and you still got to pay 14% VAT on your light bill?
Where you getting solar energy from?
They say that they're giving solar power now.
Miss, yet they said that we will pursue solar energy as one of the alternative to GPL. But that's not for now.
It's not for now.
No. You got to set up, how you going to get solar? It's a very complex and complicated system that they have to install. That may not even, they may not even be in government to do that, hopefully.
So what's going to happen to this?
So from next month, the light bill gone up by 14%. So if you used to pay, calculate it, if you used to pay $100,000, it's now gone to $114,000.
So what's going to happen to single parents now? You got to pay the VAT on light bill, water bill. I don't know if you got to pay on phone bill. What's going to happen to single parents?
Well, that is what the man from quarantine is saying, that if he was younger, he would have riot.
What are you going to do?
All right, caller, I want to take one final call before I say goodbye. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, where are you calling me from?
Ellen.
Skelland, welcome.
Mr. Nanalar is one of the worstest budget I ever listened to.
I said that at the beginning.
I
Said that at the beginning of the program.
Imagine a little motorcycle. You have to pay $25,000.
To transfer it.
You know, we young people in this country should sit and listen now. They don't know about the past.
And when I used to tell them about the past,
And the right farmer also to the fool.
when we used to tell them that if ever the PVP come out of government, this is what will happen.
Definitely.
They said, no, we lying.
Imagine me as a businessman, right?
Uh-huh.
And I do business by goods and talk and bring in bodies to sell. When I go to the big businessman in town, they say they used to pay 1.5 for them container, and the container I used to open. Now they pay $2 million, and then the container got to open and research.
And not only that, stay at the wharf for an additional 10 days.
Definitely. So
Where they're paying $20 a day US storage.
definitely they tell me, and where we are going, my brother, we are going backward all the time.
Well, when you see Nagamutu and Ramjatan and Ramaya and all of them, Charandas and so on, they gotta hold them responsible.
Yes.
They are the reason why we are in this predicament.
Definitely.
And there is another program that I have to do. These people can't get off and they can't continue to live, normal while you are punishing.
Definitely.
Are you understand?
You see, and right now, the young people who will feel the pressure. Because remember, if you got
Young, old and middle age.
definitely,
This doesn't discriminate.
Definitely.
This punish one and all.
And remember the generation to come out, what will happen to them if them continue like this?
Well, caller, I have to bid you goodbye because I've come up to program time now. All right.
Okay,
So we'll continue this discussion hopefully next week.
okay.
All right.
Bye.
Good evening. This is where I have to say goodbye. I mean, it has been a very, very packed and exciting program. I am sure that the topic has been a very consuming one, which is a discussion about our 2017 budget. There are so many things to discuss. Unfortunately, more negative things than positive. But every good thing comes to an end. And this is where I have to say good evening. And I wish to extend all the best to you for the rest of the week until we meet again. We are going into Parliament from Monday to begin the debate of this budget. So more likely than not, Saturday, next Tuesday, I will not be here, but we will speak about that at another time. Before that, I will come up with something as to whether I'll be here or not, but you will know. Anyhow, this is where I have to say goodbye and have a pleasant week. Thank you very much.